much strain our computer is under, and it also tells us our bandwidth usage as well, so how much data we're pushing out based on what it is that we specified in our settings. So if we go across to the YouTube side now, let's switch back to that. We can see here that we are actually live on YouTube, so it's automatically started our live stream. It says that the stream is in excellent condition. It's also giving us our live chat here as well, so that's why I like to have this open when I'm live on YouTube, so I can still interact and talk to everyone while we're live in here as well. Now, for those of you that are interested in that,
Hi guys, can you all can any of you hear this? This is the first time trying to do a live stream here in this new setup, so I'm not 100% sure how things are working, how things are running, or anything like that. So can you let me know if you can hear sound and if you can see things okay? Okay, and the sound's okay? Okay, and so can you see on your screen, can you see like this main thing that I'm going to draw for you, and then the colors here and the reference image up on the top, and then the little icon of me? Can you see all of that okay? I'm kind of like, do you know what? I love the idea of doing live streams, and I think that they are excellent and all the rest of it, but I just have so many issues with them every single time I set it up. I'm not sure how to schedule it. I'm not sure how to do so many different things with it, but I guess, you know what, it's just a learning curve, and we'll see how we go, and yeah, we'll just see how things go from here. So what time is it now? So it's like 3:30. So I'll do about an hour's worth of this. So as you can see, in any case, my not my next review, but the review after, I'm going to be doing a proper review of these Cretacolor pastel pencils. Now, I've done lots of reviews on pastel pencils in the past. I've done the Caran d'Ache pastel pencils, the Brunswick pastel pencils, and loads of them. And it's the 72 set that I have from Cretacolor, and this is the swatch of the full 72 set. So I thought that today would be a good idea just to try and get this all set up, and then just sit down and draw and demonstrate these pastel pencils kind of like in real time for you. Yeah, can you hear the birds in the background? I've got the door open so that Coda can come in. Yeah, I've done the Carbothello as well. I love the Caran d'Ache and the Carbothello pastel pencils, but I've seen this set of Cretacolor, and I have another set of I have another small set of Cretacolor that I have to review. These are, not too sure if you can see those well enough. These are aquagraph colors, so they're like water soluble, and the colors are quite muted. They're a little bit like they remind me a little bit of the Derwent Graphitint, but obviously, as you can see, there's a very limited palette of them. But I got those a while ago, and for some reason I've been really fascinated with the Cretacolor range. They're coming out with some really nice sets, especially the sketch sets and what have you. And so I really wanted to try and get these pastel pencils and give them a go and see what they're like. So let me have a look. So I'll be looking up every now and again, seeing who's in, and trying to answer any questions or reply to any of you if you have left any questions on the thing. But I'm gonna try and get these get this reference image up so that I can okay, right. So how's everybody today? We're kind of like, what time is it where you all are at the minute? It's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon here. New Beat of Pastels, the art studio. Thank you very much. Yeah, the art studio. I tell you what, I'm loving. Do you want to know something? This art studio, it's kind of like a really strange thing. So I love being out here. I love the ability of being able to do these live streams, because obviously, like Laurie's just put up there, it's 9:30 a.m. in Texas. Angela's in the UK, so same time as me. 10:30 a.m. Neil's 7:30 a.m. So there's loads of different times. And when I was in the house, I don't know if if you follow me on Instagram, I put some photographs up yesterday of the way my living room looked when I had all these pencils in the living room, and obviously the way it is now, which is really nice, and it's the way my wife wanted it. But being out here, it can kind of feel, although I've got a lot of freedom to do what I want, sometimes it can feel a little bit isolating, because when I was in the living room, people would be walking into the living room, like the kids would come in or something like that, or Vicky would be there at night watching TV while I would be drawing or something. So it's getting used to that as well. So anyway, let's get on with this drawing. So you can see the reference image there that I have on the top of the screen. Just close the door over there. And so what I'm going to start off with the center of the eye, which is, as you can see there with the reference image, it's kind of like this greeny color. And so I'm going to lift out a few different colors here, going off this going off this color chart, and because they're pastel pencils, I know for a fact I'm not going to really be able to sharpen them very well. Green Earth Light. Green Earth Light. Get this pea green. This Green Earth Light. And here's the other thing as well. For some reason, Coda, my dog, my husky, he only comes in here a little bit. He doesn't like to stay in here whenever I'm drawing or anything like that, which is strange because when I was in the living room, he never left me alone. He would always be there. Okay, so and I need a pale blue. Actually, I'll come back to the blue. And a little bit of sanguine or brown. I'll go for that ochre light. Actually, ochre dark. Okay, so let's get started on this. So, I'm doing this drawing on Clairefontaine pastel matte paper, and as you can see here, it's kind of like a grey color. The actual paper. Let me just get a little bit of. And what I did was I sketched the drawing out, and then I have some carbon paper, some like white carbon paper, and I put the carbon paper down and the sketch that I had done of the eye, and then just drew on top of the sketch, which gives me this kind of like white outline on the Clairefontaine pastel matte paper. Because this paper, if you're new to pastels and you've not really used this type of paper before, it's quite coarse, and it's perfect for pastels. So let's get started. I always get really anxious whenever I start a drawing, which is silly, but so I'm just laying down a black here just to. Whenever I do my artwork, I'm very different to a lot of artists that I've watched over the years. They seem to have like a really kind of like good method laid out about how they want to do things. Just give me a second. Come on, you're coming in. Come on. I never said you had to stay out. I never said you had to stay out. Look, let's have a look and see if you can see him. There he is. Co, what are you doing? So I'll let you have a little look around here as well. So I've got my all my computers and what have you set up over there, and then behind me I have like a set of drawers which has got paper and pads and what have you in it. These ones here, they look like a filing cabinet, but they're not. They're just cheap drawers from IKEA. I think they were in my daughter's room. And then this main desk, which you can see here, is where I have all my the pencils that I use, the markers and what have you, the work that I'm doing here as well. And then under this desk I have loads of stuff that I have to review, and same with over there as well. Just by the door there's loads of tins of pencils and what have you that I have to review. And then there's Coda. seeking attention as always. So let me just stick this back up here. There we go. Right, are you going out? What are you doing? What are you doing? Are you staying with me? Or are you going to go out? There, good boy, lie down. So I'm just using a light layer of black here, because I will come back in, because artists will always tell you not to just use like a flat black, and to be honest with you, I never really understood that. I didn't really understand what they meant by that. Whenever they said, you know, I would listen to all these artists and they would say, don't just use black straight out. It's flat. And I never really understood what they were talking about when they were saying flat. Until I did a couple of drawings not that long ago with black backgrounds, and I used like about 3 or 4 different colors in the background, some reds and some like indigo color, and then put the black on top and blended it all in, and it just gave it a much richer, darker black. But if you look at the reference image, I know the reference image is small, but the reference image in the center here, I can see a little bit of red, very little of it. So I'm just coming in here with an Indian red, and then I'm being very light-handed as well here whenever I'm putting these layers down, because although the pastel matte paper is quite coarse, and it takes a lot of layers and what have you, if you're too heavy-handed and you fill in the tooth of the paper really quite quickly with the pastel, it can cause problems when you're coming in on top later on. So I've done a black layer, and then I've put that Indian red down, and now I'm just coming back in again with more black, just blending all of that together. And I will come back. But as I was saying earlier on about other artists, and when I watch them on YouTube, they seem to have like a really methodical way of doing things. Like they know exactly where they're going to go and do things, whereas for me, whenever I'm doing stuff, I tend to jump about a lot. I tend to jump all over the project, and there's no real rhyme or reason to what I'm doing. But for the time being, I just filled in that black, and that just helps me with my values, helps me understand where I am. It's kind of like when you're map reading and things like that, and you need like a waypoint. So with the eye here, obviously it's very, very green, and then there's right down at the very bottom there's a dark green, which I'll come back in with later on. But for now, all I'm going to do is just put a very, very light layer of this cadmium yellow. But I was also saying earlier on about my reasons for wanting to get this Cretacolor set. I'd wanted to get Cretacolor. I'd wanted to do a review of the Cretacolor pencils for quite some time, but I for some reason I just never got around to getting them. And then I done a review of Jerry's Artorama Soho pencils, and they are actually made by Cretacolor. If you look at the Cretacolor line of pencils, coloured pencils, I mean, you'll see similarities straight away, but they are made by Cretacolor. And Jerry's don't make any, it's not a secret or anything like that. That's a partnership that Jerry's have set up, and it's a very successful partnership into the bargain. But I actually really enjoyed the Soho pencils. Took me a little while to get the right paper, and once I got the right paper, the pencils. I was able to start getting what I needed from the pencils. But recently, Cretacolor have started coming out with these really, really gorgeous sketch sets. And I'm definitely going to want to try a few of those as well, because like I say, they look gorgeous. But this 72 set of pastel pencils, I really when I was looking at them online, I really liked the look of the palette, and I wasn't wrong. If you take a look at these colors, especially these greys, they've got like a brown grey, smoke grey, green grey, and they're very subtle hints of color within the grey, like the like I say, the green grey, yellow grey, light grey, cloud grey, silver grey, blue grey, elephant grey, pearl grey, lots of different greys, and they've all got lots of little tones in them. And I think personally, and it again, you know, I sit and I talk about all these different pencils, all these different products when I'm doing reviews, but so much of it is all personal choice. It's all down to the individual artist, especially when it comes to the palettes. But I personally found that a lot of coloured pencil sets that I have reviewed over the last 5 years that I've done this, they seem to skip out on the greys. And for some artists, that's not an issue, because they may not like the greys, and you know, those tones may not fit into the way they do their artwork. But for me, I think having a section of greys and what have you is important. I like it. I think it's they're good for so many different reasons. And as you can see here, I mean, these, I'm being very, very light-handed with this yellow, just to lay down a kind of like a base layer, just to help me see where I need to be. And you can see here that the pigment is actually really, really nice, especially given how light-handed I'm being here. And as I always say in my reviews, when I'm talking about when I do the artwork for the reviews that I'm doing over on my Patreon channel, where I do some tutorials, I always say that when you're doing your artwork, you're always, no matter how good an artist you are, you're always going to get to a certain point where you think that the artwork just looks rubbish, and you think it's probably best just to stop it and just not bother going on. And I personally think it's quite important that you try your best and push past that and keep doing the artwork, because it will come good in the end. Everybody has that period of time in their artwork where it just looks rubbish and it just looks fit for the bin and nothing else. But I think it's important. And one of the things about that I personally like about pastels, especially pastel pencils, is the fact that you can come in and put light on top of dark relatively easy. Which is obviously, if you're a colour pencil artist, you will know that that's a relatively difficult thing to do for colour pencil artists. We have to come up with all kinds of different tips and tricks to get the white highlights. But with pastels, you don't really have to do that. You can come back in again on a few dark layers with a white pastel pencil and create a really nice crisp highlight. Let me see if there's any Mini Rex 29 has just left a comment saying, I hope I will be as good as you one day. Let me tell you, I'll actually do a video where I put up the artwork that I first started out doing 5 or 6 years ago, and the progression that I've got now. And I was looking at it the other night, and the difference is unbelievable. And all it's just down to practice. I personally think not everybody can draw. I understand that. I know some people just don't have, like my son, he's not, I don't think he could draw. He's just not interested in it. He's a big science buff. Not really interested in art or anything like that. But I think a lot of people have the ability to be able to create really nice art, especially if you just practice with it a little bit. And unfortunately, that's just the same with anything in life. If you just take your time, practice, providing you're enjoying it as well. I always say, you know, especially something like art, if you're not enjoying it, if it's causing stress or things like that to you, then maybe it's not worth it, because the last thing in the world that you want to be is stressed out because something's not going right or anything like that. And I can see why some artists would think that art is stressful. Especially artists that might have to do a commission, and so they have a deadline or something like that, and it's important for them to get these deadlines done. So I've just picked up zinc white, and I'm just putting in the highlights, the big highlights that I can see with this white. Now, I'm not going to, these highlights aren't going to be just white. There's, when I finish, there's going to be lots of different colours added into this by the time I finish. But for now, it just helps me to see kind of like where I'm going. And this is where, you know, I was saying earlier on, I'm not like some of these really good artists that set out with a plan, and they have a kind of like a plan of action, and they know where they're going with what they want to do and how they want to do it. Unfortunately, my brain doesn't seem to work like that. So again, just putting these highlights in that you can see there at the top, especially this one that I'm doing now. This one has quite a lot going on in it in terms of reflection. So I need to be very mindful of that. And when I go to do the sharpening, I'm going to try a few different sharpeners as well, just as part of the review process. I have this little sharpener here. I did a review of this a while ago, and yeah, it's a beautiful thing, but it does sharpen really well, but there's a time factor on it. It does take a little bit of time. For anybody that's done any woodwork in their life, that's basically all this is. It's like a wood plane, and you just use it like that. There's a little blade there. You set the blade to the depth that you need it, and then you just shave off the pencil blocks, or you can turn it over and place it in its little plinth like that, and then you can just like run the pencil across and sharpen it like that, and the wood shavings fall into the little plinth. Okay, let me take a little look here, see if anybody's asking any questions. Neil, the palette looks good. It would be a great compliment to the... Yeah, you're right, Neil. Yeah, I'll be saying that. I'll be pointing that out in the in the proper review that I do of these as well. That these Cretacolor pencils are really, really nice, but the palette is excellent, and the palette does really complement the Carbothellos well. I took a look at my swatch last night for the Carbothellos and the Caran d'Ache pastel pencils, and there's a lot of not colors but tones really, different tones in this Cretacolor set that aren't present in the other ones. Hi Nancy. As you can see, I finally got it set up. And I was talking to Nancy the other night about scheduling these live streams and what have you, and my camera dropping. I was have a bit of a nightmare with them. Yeah, but so Neil, yeah, the palette is really, really nice. So I'm coming in now with this is a pea green, and I'm putting this down on top of the yellow that I'd already put. So while the green that I'm putting down looks a bit powerful, looks a bit garish, the yellow underneath will help calm it down a little bit, I guess. And once I've put this layer on, then I'll come back in and smooth the whole thing out with a little either a paper blending stump or a color shaper. Yeah, Stardust CMT Warrior there has just pointed out a really valid point about pastel pencils, saying that if the issues that they have with pastel pencils like chalk pastel is the dustiness and respiratory issues and what have you, and that's one of the reasons that I know a lot of artists, or I've heard a lot of artists talk on YouTube about wanting to use pastels, but they can't because either they just can't stand the texture on their hands, or the mess that they can create causes issues for them, and so they just stay away from the medium. But at the same time, it's a medium that they would love to try, and I can understand all of the issues that they mention. I guess the only solution with, especially with the issue of having pastels on the hand, is either wearing like latex surgical gloves, and that way it'll keep it off your hands. Using pastel pencils is another way. You don't have to. You don't use your hands as much when you've got these pastel pencils. With the blocks, obviously, it's very different because you're picking up the blocks and your hands are directly on the pastel. Whereas with the pencils, you do have the wood barrel to kind of like protect them. But as far as the respiratory thing goes, if you suffer from respiratory issues, it just in general, then yeah, working with pastels definitely wouldn't be a good move, I don't think. Unless you're working in a ventilated area or something like that. But I could see why it would definitely be an issue. So at the minute, this green just doesn't look right, but don't worry, it will. It will push down. It will come good in the end. And this is just one of these times where the artwork just looks terrible. But you just got to keep telling yourself, you're at the very early stages, and it's important to keep going. So how is everyone else? How are yous all doing? Yeah, you're right, Neil. All mediums have their own issues with people. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's very much an individual thing. If you as an individual suffer with any kind of ailment that some art medium could potentially aggravate for them, then unfortunately they're just going to have to stay away from it. I can remember when I'd only been doing reviews about 2 years, and at the time, because now I write reviews for Color Magazine and Kohlberg's Color Magazine. I have a monthly column there, but I used to put a review in the other magazine, Colored Pencil Magazine, and when I was doing a review of the Holbein colored pencils, I got into a lot of trouble over those Holbein colored pencils, because in my review was very, very favourable. It's still up. The review is still up. But because I failed to mention that those pencils were prohibited from entering America because of some sort of toxicity issues within the pencils, they were going to sue me for writing the article and putting it in the magazine. But it was Holbein US that was going to sue me. It wasn't the parent company of Holbein in Japan. And I actually panicked, and really didn't know what to do, because as far as I was concerned, I just wrote a review. That's all I did, and I certainly wasn't expecting anything like that to come out of it. But nothing came of it in the end. But when I spoke to Holben Japan, they were like, they were really supportive. They loved the review and all the rest of it, and just told me not to worry about it. But at that time, I wasn't even aware that there was like toxicity issues in colored pencils. It just never crossed my mind that anybody would think that using colored pencils could be harmful to your health. Especially coming from my background, in any case, as a soldier. The last thing in the world I thought could cause anybody any harm was colored pencils. So again, all I'm doing here is I'm just mapping in these colors, these shapes that I can see that I know I'm going to need. Start of CMT Warrior says, can't work with acrylic. My health issues prevent me from working fast, and I prefer coloring with pencil much more. Yeah, you see, it's all just down to the individual. Depends what the issues. Yes, I really don't think color pencils can be harmful. I because at the minute. So the really strange thing about that whole Holben incident was, Holben US were angry because I failed to mention that you like Holben didn't sell their pencils in the US because there was because it didn't meet these Californian standards for toxicity levels within the core of the pencil, and I think as well something to do with the lacquer paint that was being used on them. I'm not too sure of the specifics, but it was along those lines. And it just never even occurred to me that was a thing, that was an issue, that working with colored pencils could be harmful to somebody's health. But having said that, Holben now, like Dick Blix in America, now stock the Holben colored pencils, and so they would have had to have got permission from Holben to be able to stock those as a proper, distributor. Same with Jackson's here in the UK. Now, apparently the UK never had these toxicity level issues, or the pencils met the standards that this country needed. It was more to do with California, some standards in California. But I don't know what has changed for Holben to now sell them in the US, because as far as I know, nothing has changed in the pencils. So if anything has changed, it's the whatever the toxicity levels are, whatever the issues are surrounding the toxins within the pencils. Those laws have changed. They've either loosened, slacked them, or whatever they've done, but Sorry guys, just getting me a little blending stumps. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so this is just like a paper blending stump, and what it does is it just helps me to blend the two colours that I used there, the yellow and the green. But I'm still using a light hand here. I don't want to push too hard. I don't want to compact the pastel too much into the tooth of the paper, especially not at this early stage, because there's going to be a lot more layers going on top of this. So I'm still pressing very, very light. But you can see as you start to kind of like rub it all in, blend it all in together. That's when you can see how well they blend together. Like those two colors now are doing exactly what I needed them to do. It's not as green as what it was when I first put that pea green down. The yellow underneath, which I originally put down, has made sure it didn't go too wild. Sorry, I've just read that comment from Justine. Yeah, I've never been to California or anything like that. I know that they're having some issues out there. With regards to some of the lockdown laws and stuff like that and all the rest of it, but I try to stay so out of that type of stuff now, especially after my time in the army, and also growing up in a country like Northern Ireland. Okay, Stardust, I hope you have a really nice day. Now that your motorized chair's all powered up and stuff. I hope you have a really nice day. Out in the outdoors, taking a look. Thank you for stopping by. Watched just completely off topic here, off art. Vicky and I watched a thing last night with Will Young in it. I don't know if any of you know who he is. He was a singer. He came up through a competition called Pop Idol, and his brother died of alcoholism, and it was his twin brother actually died of alcoholism, and it was so sad watching it. But for Vicky and I, there was a lot of the things that he was talking about. There was a lot of the things that he was talking about that him and his family went through, that Vicky and I could relate to, with regards to our youngest daughter Amelia, when she was being bullied at school. And it's funny how it's, you know, obviously Amelia's on the mend now, but it's funny how watching all other people talk about traumatic family events, how it can be not necessarily triggering. I try not to use that word, but it can certainly evoke past memories and emotions that are really deep and raw. But I thought Will Young, the singer, he was, I thought he was very good on it last night. And there was a young artist as well from the UK who had set up this thing, which I thought was absolutely amazing. She set up this, I can't even remember her name. If I remember her name, I'll put a link down below and you can go across and check out her work. But during the lockdown, her dad suffered with alcoholism, and he was not very nice and what have you. But she started up this thing where people could, she would send out like a little square of fabric, and people could sew a little message onto it, and they would send it back to her, and she is creating this big massive blanket thing, like quilt, patchwork quilt. And some of the messages that people put on those were really heartbreaking, to know that some families, the pain that some families go through. Very sobering, actually. Right, so you can see here now, I've got all these colours pretty much like blended together. Still very patchy, but there's still a lot of colours that have got to go on here. I'm going to blend in these highlights just a little bit, but I still have lots of different things that I've got to do to these highlights to make them look like highlights and not just blobs of white on the paper. So I'm going to try sharpening one of these Cretacolor pencils, so I'll let you watch here. Now, sharpening a pastel pencil isn't always a good idea. They say that with pastel pencils, it's a much better idea to shave, use a craft knife and sharpen them that way, because they're very brittle, and sometimes the blade in these sharpeners just isn't enough and causes them to break. Now that I can feel when I'm using this sharpener, I can feel a little bit of resistance, and I know that if I keep going with this, I'm very likely to break the core and lose it. So I'm going to stop. I'm not going to force it any further. and what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with my little plane sharpener. Like I say, I did a review of this tool. Sorry guys, the dings that you can hear is I have like a security system thing set up here in the studio, and every time birds and what have you land, it dings, and you can hear the birds out there. So that's not super sharp or anything like that, but then I've got this little this little sanding block. Now, a lot of people think that whenever you do this with pastel pencils, that this is a waste. All this pastel powder that's on here is a waste. But if I needed this, which I can, so what you can do is, because the kind of like the tear duct part of the cat's eye there, I can just gently knock that black dust off. I know it's not much, but I need it for that area, and it's better there than wasting it and sticking it in a bin. So what I'm doing now is I'm coming in and I'm just going to do the outline of the eye. And again, for the most part, all of this is it's just blocking in. It's just helping my head, getting my eyes adjusted to where things need to be. And unfortunately, although it's a little bit of a haphazard way of doing things, unfortunately it's just the way that I create art. But I guess, you know, at the end of the day, if whatever you do, if the art that you're creating makes you happy, which it does for me, then it's really important that you keep doing it. You know, when I look around, yeah, I've got the, do you know what? I don't even know where my M&R hand crank sharpener is, but I'll try one of these. Let me see. I'll try this white pencil with the Caran d'Ache. So I've got the Caran d'Ache hand crank sharpener. Now sometimes these are much better, and the reason why they're better is because they hold the barrel still, and the blade the blade goes round the pencil, as opposed to the pencil going round the blade in the other way, the other format. So, and that is one of the biggest issues that pencils break whenever they're sharpened, is that if the core isn't centered when you're sharpening it, it's kind of like it's wobbling a little bit, and that is the reason why they break. If the pencils aren't centered, if the cores are not centered, that's where the issues come. So I've got the white pencil in there, so let's take a look and see how this works. Forget who it was that asked me that. Oh, sorry, I can't pronounce it. Oh yeah, the Caran d'Ache. I have the Caran d'Ache peel thing, which again, you know, if you've got a nice sharp um, blade in it, I think it works okay. So you can see there. Let me just show you. You can see there that that's not bad actually for a pastel pencil. Now, you know, we're not talking coloured pencils here that get these really nice big points on them. That's a coloured pencil. Pastel pencils, it is a little bit harder to get that. But you can see there, actually you can see there just how pigmented these pencils are. Look at this coming off on my finger. That's really good. So anyway, I'll continue on here. We'll just keep putting. But yeah, as I was saying, it's taken me a while, but there's far too much pain and misery in the world, and I think everybody needs to try and find something that is going to bring them some sort of happiness, especially in this day and age with the way things are. So again, going back to the discussion of black straight from the pencil being quite flat. I will come back in again with another color here and deepen this black down. I'm just all I'm doing here is this part of the eye comes out to this, to about here where this white mark is, but all I'm doing is applying a light layer. When I'm going around the rim of the eye here, it's a little bit different. I can press a little bit harder, but not too much. And as you can see there, those white marks that I have from the carbon paper, they just kind of like disappear. They just get pulled in with the. Hi, yeah, Susan. This, you know, one of the things I really wanted this studio for was for doing live streams, and as you've just said there, it is absolutely perfect for this. I've got all my cameras set up, so I've got 3 cameras set up. I don't have to move them. I don't have to do anything with them. They can stay where they are. And once I work out the software, OBS and things like that, and get it and learn how to set up proper schedules, so that when I do a live stream, I'll be able to schedule it properly and let people know ahead of time. Then it'll be better. I'll enjoy it more. But at the minute, I'm still just getting the grips with the software, and I had a little bit of an issue with the main camera. This camera here that's looking down over the artwork. For some reason, it kept dropping. I don't mean like literally falling, just like the connection would drop occasionally when I was doing tests. But thankfully it hasn't done that here. So I don't know whether it was something I was doing. It probably was. It probably had absolutely nothing at all to do with the camera or the software. It was probably something I'd done. But hopefully give it a little bit of time, I'll become more more confident. I think is the better word. More confident with these live streams, and I'll be able to work a lot better. Incidentally, I'm gonna have to cut this live stream short. But having said that, I'll do this again later on this evening. So it's coming up to 5 o'clock now. Vicky will be coming in from work now. So I always make sure I've got a cup of tea and things I got ready for her. So I'll go and do that, and then once we've had our dinner, then I can come back out and just press go. And Nancy, if you're still here, I'll drop you a wee line, a wee email. But for anybody that's watching the live stream now, if you're still about, I know you have your own day and you're probably busy doing your own things, but if you're still about in about another hour, 2 hours, I'll continue this stream on, and I'll continue. We'll continue having a bit of a chat, a bit of a talk. So you seen earlier on there that I just dropped that powder there that was left from the sharpenings of the pastel pencil, but you can see here, you know, it's not much, but it's still something. It still adds to your artwork. It's still better than just dumping it in the bin and wasting it. All artists will tell you that none of these art supplies are cheap in this day and age. But and the reason why I chose this particular drawing to do this is because you can see where the fur is just above the eye. Well, I'm going to have to kind of like do a black underlay and then come back in with these gorgeous gold colors for the hair and what have you. So I wanted to show how well or not that these pastel pencils work in terms of light over dark, that type of thing as well. So I'll definitely do that when I come back out and continue this live stream on. But and it's always important that, especially when you're doing animal fur, you make sure everything goes in the direction that the fur is growing. So again, all I'm doing is I'm just leaving light layers here just to mark in the shape. Just to help me understand what I'm doing and where I'm going with this drawing. Do you ever get like into the groove of doing a drawing or something like this, and then you've got to stop and go? Another thing I want to show you as well, a lot of people think or don't know that when you're working with pastel pencils and things like that, if you make a mistake, you don't have a lot of options, but you do, especially if you're working in light layers. As when I'm doing things like over on Patreon, and I'm doing these tutorials over on Patreon, I'm always saying, especially in the early stages of whatever it is that you're drawing, always work in light layers, because if you make a mistake or you think things aren't the right color, the right tone, whatever, and you need to make amendments, if you've put heavy applications down, it is going to be more difficult to make the changes that you want to make. And so, because I've done light layers here, if I come in with just a putty eraser and just dab it, not rub it, because again, when you rub really hard, especially with those vinyl erasers, like these kind of erasers, if you rub hard with those, again, you're going to damage the paper. And that, when we're thinking about cartridge paper or the type of stuff that we used to do as kids in school, that's different. But when you're talking about artist quality paper that you spent a lot of money for, the last thing that you want to do is ruin the paper. And so that's why it's always important to have one of these putty erasers. Before I started drawing, before I became an artist, I always seen those things in stationery sets, or in stationery stores when we were getting the kids their pencils for going back to school. And for the life of me, I never knew what they were. I had no idea what they were used for. And it wasn't until I started doing this that I kind of like realized and understood the value of them. Anyway, guys, listen, I'm going to have to go because my lovely wife will be home soon, and I want to make her a cup of tea and things like that. I can't go out to work, so I try to make it easy for her. It's one of the things I feel terrible about, not being able to work properly like a proper husband, a proper dad. But anyway, I'll be back again in about an hour or 2 hours, and we'll continue this on and continue chatting, and hopefully you'll be able to jump back in on the live stream. I apologize if any of you's I've got to go off to work and you can't jump in on it. I'll be doing these live streams now that I'm out here in this studio. I'll be doing these live streams much more regularly. Once I get the software worked out, I'll be doing them much more regularly, and at different times as well. So I'll be doing them late at night and some of them early in the morning, to make sure that people in Australia and America and all those other people that follow me from different places can jump in as well and watch them. And it's not just like a UK thing. I don't want that to happen. Anyway, guys, thank you for everybody that's jumped in on this live stream. Thank you so much for jumping in. I really appreciate it, and it's been lovely talking to you all, and I hope to see you again in a couple of hours, and we'll see where we go with this drawing. But thank you all so very much. I really appreciate it. See you all again in a couple of hours. Bye.